call to order the meeting of the Chautauqua County Legislature on March 27th, 2024. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Anthony. Here. Mr. Bankowski is absent. Mr. Buchanan.
Here.
Mrs. Gustafson.
Here.
Mr. Harmon.
Here.
Mr. Heiser.
Here.
Mr. Johnson is absent. Mr. Landy.
Present.
Mr. Larson.
Here.
Mr. Nelson.
Here.
Mr. Niebel.
Here.
Ms. Parker.
Here.
Mr. Pavlock.
Present.
Mr. Penhallow.
Here.
Mr. Proctor.
Here.
Mr. Scudder is absent. Ms. Vanstrom.
Here.
Mr. Wilfong is absent. Chairman Chagnon.
Here.
Okay. There are 15 members present and 4 members absent. There's quorum.
Thank you. We will now have the prayer and pledge of allegiance by Legislator Proctor.
Our Heavenly Father, we assemble this evening to conduct the business of our county government. We ask that you guide our decisions and help us remember that which is written in Proverbs 2, verses 6 and 7. For the Lord grants wisdom, from his mouth come knowledge and understanding. He grants a treasure of common sense to the honest. He is a shield to those who walk with integrity. Lord, provide us with that wisdom and understanding. Give us the strength and courage of our convictions to do what is right and just for all those which we represent. Lord, we ask that you be with all the men and women who serve in our armed forces that protect the freedom that we enjoy. Be with those first responders who protect us at home. Keep them all from harm's way and bring them home safely to their loved ones. During this Easter season, let us not forget that your Son died for us and arose again on that most glorious day to give every one of us hope of renewed and eternal life. In your name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That brings us to the first item on the agenda for action, which is approval of the minutes of the February 28th meeting of the Legislature. Motion to accept them by Legislator Vanstrom. Do I have a second? Second by Legislator Gustafson. Any discussion on the motion to accept? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Okay, that brings us to the first privilege of the floor. Members of the public may comment on any subject relating to any local law, resolution, or motion appearing on the agenda tonight. Individual comments are limited to 3 minutes, and comments representing a group shall be limited to 5 minutes. Is there anyone wishing to address the first privilege of the floor?
Good evening. My name is Paul Stage, and I'm speaking to the resolution 92-24 on the occupancy tax. And you all be voting on that, I think, tonight, moving it forward. My concern is that the 3% is 50% of the 3% is supposed to go to the Visitors Bureau. And I acknowledge that's acknowledged in this this writing, but there's a carve out for a fund that can be allocated after the year for specialty projects, and my concern is that the 3% is being watered down so that the fund, I call it a slush fund, is being left larger so that the special projects can be used in other ways other than towards the Visitors Bureau. And I guess my comment is that 50% of those funds that are left over should go to the Visitors Bureau. If you want to give the other 50% out as you see fit, that's fine, but 50% of those extra monies are Visitor Bureau funds by the enabling legislation that was just passed at the state legislature here a few months ago or whatever. Oh, maybe it was last year now. But that allocation should withstand through the entire process. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to address the first privilege of the floor? Seeing no one, we will move now to the agenda item, a commendation for Patrick Slagle, which I will be presenting. And unless Patrick magically materializes, I will be presenting this to him in absentia. So, Patrick, wherever you are listening, this is from the office of the county legislature, and it's a letter of commendation. Whereas Patrick J. Slagle was appointed to the position of Chautauqua County Attorney, acting county executive, and legal counsel to the Chautauqua County Legislature from December 31st of 2022 through March 13th of this year. And whereas during his tenure with the county, he held positions as an assistant social services attorney with the Chautauqua County Department of Health and Human Services, and later as the first assistant county attorney for the Chautauqua County Law Department. And whereas as county attorney, he has provided legal advice and support to the county executive, county legislature, and all county departments. As chief legal advisor for the county, he has prepared resolutions, local laws, contracts, legal opinions, and represented the county in contract negotiations and civil matters. He has provided legal counsel to many of the county's boards and commissions. And whereas Patrick has been highly responsive to all requests for consultation, advice, and assistance while providing thoughtful and deliberative support. And whereas Patrick has had a positive impact in his community through his current service as a member of the New York State School Boards Association, the Jamestown Bar Association, and the Jamestown Public School Board of Education. And whereas throughout his incredible and exemplary service to the county during his employment, Patrick has worked tirelessly to serve the residents of Chautauqua County. Now, therefore, I, Pierre E. Chagnon, Chairman of the Chautauqua County Legislature, do hereby recognize and thank Patrick J. Slagle for his outstanding dedication to Chautauqua County, in witness whereof I have hereto set my hands and caused the seal of the County of Chautauqua to be affixed this 27th day of March 2024. And somehow we'll get that to Patrick. Okay, Olivia, take us away.
There are no veto messages from County Executive Wendell from the February 28th, 2024 meeting. Our office has received the 9 communications as listed on the agenda. If you would like a copy of any of these items, please let our office know. Okay. Next, we have renew and amend resolution number 71-24, amend senior real property tax exemption.
Okay, I would be looking for a motion to renew Resolution 7124. Legislator Vanstrom, do I have a second? Legislator Parker, thank you. Any discussion on the motion to renew? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion to renew Resolution 71-24, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Nay. We have one nay. Any other nays that I missed? Thank you. The resolution is renewed. Now we would need a motion to amend Resolution 71-24. Do I have a motion to amend? Legislator Parker, second by Legislator Vanstrom. Is there any discussion on the motion to amend Resolution 71-24? Legislator Parker.
We've all agreed that we believe there should be an increased real property tax relief for the most vulnerable, low-income seniors in our county. We voted unanimously last month to grant relief at the highest seeming percentage allowed by New York State. This month, instead of making the required change to the highest and likely the most beneficial amount for seniors, an amount has been selected that is lower than is recommended. I spoke with the Office for the Aging Director, Marianne Spanos, today. Took her away from her personal time and discussed at length her review and suggestion for the legislature's consideration. Unlike the amount suggested in the resolution, Ms. Spanos recommended $37,650 as with consideration for the fact that for an individual, the poverty level is approximately $15,000, and that the Office for the Aging has in practice with services that are rendered from them to seniors 65 and above, and well, actually lower than that, that 250% of that individual poverty level be used as a number for this partial property tax exemption. On that basis, I move to make a motion to amend the amendment to the amount of the seniors exemption to $37,650, excuse me, and respectfully ask for a second and an affirmative vote.
Legislator Parker, I believe that the motion that you made was to amend the resolution, not to specifically take any action on amending it as in reference to the document that was placed on all the desks. So what we're discussing is the motion to allow amendment of Resolution 71-24.
So I got ahead of myself.
Just a bit, but
Okay.
your words
So
are.
what has to happen first, then? We have to vote on
We
the
need to
amendment?
vote to allow the amendment of Resolution 71-24.
Okay, then I'll save my statement for the next
Okay.
section.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on the motion to allow the amendment of Resolution 71-24? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? It is now on the floor for consideration of amendment. And we have on the table with each of the legislators a proposed amendment to Resolution 71-24. Now, Legislator Parker, I believe your comments that you were making earlier are germane to our discussion of the proposed amendment that has been laid on the desks.
Okay, they are germane to the amendment that is going to change the amount of the property tax exemption from $58,400 to $30,000.
Yes.
Okay, so as I said, I won't go through the whole thing, but I did a fair amount of research, and so what I'm asking for is consideration for the $37,650, due to the fact that because of seniors and their, sorry, I'm just getting a little nervous here. So, because of seniors, they are, someone who's making $37,650. There are a lot of seniors that don't own property. There are probably seniors who would not ask for this property tax exemption, and there really is no way to find out how many people this would actually affect. There was a chart that was brought out which detailed who would be affected and what the property tax change for non-exempt people would be. That was at the $58,400 range. Now, with people who are making, at the $58,400, it would change the property tax of someone who had a house that was valued at $75,000 by approximately $8. Someone who made $100,000, it would change increase their tax to approximately $11 per year. And if you had a house that was $500,000, valued at $500,000, it would increase your taxes by approximately $58. I mean, I have those exactly right because I don't have it right in front of me, but I think I'm pretty close. So when you're looking, that's in looking at who would be eligible at $58,400. And what would happen if we took it to $37,650 is that a lot less people would be eligible for this property tax exemption. And as Kim Moline and Kitty Crow, the finance director and the head of real property tax said, it's impossible to know exactly. But Marianne Spanos gave me this information for totals for 65 and older in Chautauqua County. And this is plus or minus a small amount. For people making $19,999, now that's the poverty rate for a couple, about 20,000 or less, is $2,967. The total for making between 20,000 and 34,999, basically 35, is 3,292. So you have to take into account that if we changed it to 30,000, then you would probably get 2,967 who would be eligible now. And as Ms. Spanos said, the majority, I won't say all, but the majority of people who are making the poverty level wage will not be able to afford a house under any circumstance, even with a property tax exemption. As I said, that's not everyone. The total making 20 to 35, you could subtract, I don't know how many people, to see what the actual people who might be eligible if they could prove that they owned a house. So these numbers are kind of knocking off people as you go, eligible people. The total making between $35,000 and $39,999 is $812. When I spoke with the Office for the Aging Director, Marianne Spanos, she gave me what she thought would be a fair amount. She said since the poverty level for 2024 for an individual is $15,060, I would suggest that the level for property tax exemption should be 250% of poverty, or those making less than $37,640. For the aging services, this is generally where people are incurred at $37,650 or 250% of the poverty level, where they are encouraged to pay if income is over 250%. Under that, we will do cost sharing. So again, this property tax exemption is not a complete property tax exemption. It's a partial, so a cost sharing. 50%, thank you. I fully believe that people who are 65 and older in our county who are making 37 $650, could, this would be a fair amount. Now, several people have said, we could look at this every year, but the fact is, this hasn't been looked at for 6 years, and there's nothing in our mechanism for property tax assessors or anything that requires anyone to keep track of this on a year-to-year basis, which is one reason why it has taken 6 years to change that. And that is why I recommend $37,650 based on the recommendation for the Director of the Aging and some other statistics that she shared with me. And I hope that you would join me in this. Thank you.
So Legislator Parker, do I understand that you are proposing an amendment to the proposed amendment that's on the desks?
Yes, that's what I was gonna ask.
Okay,
Yes.
so you're proposing to amend the proposed amendment that's on the desks to changing from $30,000 to $37,650.
Yes, that's what I'm proposing. Thank
Okay.
you, Chairman.
Okay, and do we have a second to the motion? Legislator Nelson, thank you. Now, discussion on the motion to amend the proposed amendment. Legislator Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, this amount has been frozen for 6 years. It's time, obviously, it's past time to make a change. You know, the $30,000 figure, to say someone who makes a few dollars over $30,000 a year is not in poverty, I wouldn't even put them in middle class. I think they're struggling, and I think if we can help them in any way, I think we should. So I support Legislator Parker's amendment to move it to $37,650.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other comments? Legislator Proctor.
Yeah, I support the 30,000 level that's currently on our table. I did a little research myself, and I believe that we do need to raise it. Obviously, I voted for it last time, but I did a little research myself, and I believe that the genesis for this was that Social Security increased, especially in 2023, 8.7%, and it kicked a lot of seniors out of this status. And I know there was concerns raised that we had not visited this increase since 2017, and we should have, and we did not. So we're at this point now. I looked at all of the increases in Social Security from 2017, and cumulatively it was 25.8%. But in calculating where it would affect the $22,000 where it originally was, I came up with a dollar amount of $28,289. So I believe 30,000 based on the Social Security is where we're at, is where we should be at. By the increase, especially the increase that we prior voted on, it affects those non-exempt people, which could be working poor as well. Those people who are not seniors and who do not qualify for, who wouldn't qualify for any type of exemption, and they would be bearing the extra burden of all of this, these exemptions coming for these extra, the seniors that would be qualifying. The 30,000 works for all, and I know the Office of the Aging gave Legislator Scudder the statistics. About 1/3 of our seniors qualify for it under $30,000, 32% to be exact. I also had our local tax assessor, I asked her on Monday if she could put together what other counties are at, and out of 34 counties that responded, 21 were less than 30,000, and 24 out of those 34 had a sliding scale, And what I would suggest is we pass the 30,000, and then possibly form some type of a committee to look at instituting a sliding scale above and beyond 30,000 to some other level where it wouldn't be 50%, but it would possibly be 25% or 5% or something like that. So I will be voting against the recommended amendment.
Thank you. Other comments? Legislator Nebel.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, this resolution has been thoroughly discussed in Administrative Services and in Audit and Control. I think Mr. Scudder and his committee have done a lot of work on this resolution and have suggested a figure of 30,000, which seems to be, well, it seems to be fair and reasonable. It's the median income of seniors in Chautauqua County, and it's based on statistics. Look, I think it's admirable to help senior citizens, but in doing so, the tax burden is actually shifted to other taxpayers. What about the low-income earners who are like 20 to 40 years old? It represents an age group that in the past has been the biggest exodus of population from Chautauqua County. I'm not sure if it still is, but I think it is. That age group is facing rising gas prices, rising food prices, utility prices, and they probably already have high mortgage and mortgage payments and car payments. At least senior citizens have their homes and cars paid for, or at least a lot of them do. I think we need to strike a balance. A figure of 30,000 does that. And as Ms. Parker mentioned earlier, if we need to, we can always revisit this issue in the future. But I think this is amount 30,000 that we should decide on. I do, however, appreciate all the work the legislator from District 4 has done. Thank you.
Thank you. Legislator Parker.
Just want, for a point of information, my understanding was that we can't do a sliding scale. Is that correct? I saw Kim was here.
We can't do a sliding scale this year, but it could be done, yes.
It could be done another time. Okay, thank you.
Legislator Larson.
All these Swedes look alike over here. Unfortunately, I'm the only Fred tonight. I wish there were both Freds here tonight. I thought we were in the season of Easter, but it seems like we're in the season of Epiphany tonight. This discussion is odd in that it's only 4 weeks ago, I think, that we voted unanimously to raise the senior citizen exemption to over 55,000. And as I recall, there was no discussion. We just said, okay. The discussion going on tonight would have been relevant, of course, last month. Whenever you give an exemption, sure, the money you exempt one group is paid by another. That's always true. But I'm a little confused as to how we all voted unanimously for 55,000 last month, and now any figure is going to be an arbitrary one, whether it's the 30,000 or Ms. Parker's 37.5 or 6. We must acknowledge any of these figures are arbitrary. We could pick any figure legally. I don't think we have to have a senior citizen exemption at all, do we, under state law? Anybody know? I don't.
Because it was adopted, we have it, and I think we have to.
Yeah, I think it's a local option.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's acknowledge that either of these figures is arbitrary, but let's be honest, it's against a background of 19 consenting adults, or however many we had last month. 19 consenting adults voted on the record last month to raise it to $55,000. So that's an interesting background to what we're talking about tonight. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Legislator Vanstrom.
Mr. Chairman and my colleagues, I think there's one thing that hasn't been mentioned yet, and it's a little embarrassing, but we kicked the can down the road by not increasing this this program as the shift in senior citizen incomes shifted and our tax rate decreased consecutively, we also were going with a bigger number on the premise that we won't have to deal with it for a long time, or at least that's an undercurrent that I was feeling. I'm not going to quote anyone or not, but that was one of the other premises that was a buzz among us all. So if we look at it every year or look at it more frequently, we don't have to go all the way to the top and not deal with it for a half a decade. So thank you.
Thank you. Other comments? Legislator Nebel.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, just to respond from to the legislator from District 12. Yes, we all voted in favor of this last month, including myself. But I think we have more information now, and perhaps we didn't do all the homework that we should have. But I think we have more statistics, more facts and figures to base this on, and therefore, I mean, I'm in favor of the 30,000. I am in favor of an amount less than the 58,400, which we tentatively agreed to last month. And I think the points have been brought up for either the 36,650 or the 30,000. I'm in favor of the 30,000, but I do think these are better figures than the figures that we voted on, or the amount we voted on last month. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments on the motion to amend the proposed amendment? Legislator Parker.
Just for a point of, just for clarification, I think this 37,650 is not the intent. It's certainly, I don't think on the part of the director of the Office for the Aging or myself. I asked her, she didn't reach out to me or anything, was that this was more fair and this would cover more people who really are, again, are basically, they're not, as someone, I'm not sure who said it, but they're not middle class. They're very lower class, and we have a huge problem with housing. We have a huge problem with the lack of long-term care. We have a huge problem with the lack of access for, for acceptable places for elderly people to go and live. And I know that the main thing that actually, I heard this about, that the thing about even people who are in a nursing home and have been in there for years, they still want to go home. And I think the most important thing is that we should allow this level to allow people to be able to keep their homes for a number of good reasons. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments on the motion to amend the proposed amendment? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Anthony. No. Mr. Bankowski is absent. Mr. Buchanan. No. Mrs. Gustafson. No. Mr. Harmon. No. Mr. Heiser. No. Mr. Johnson is absent. Mr. Landy. No. Mr. Larson.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson. Mr. Nebel.
No.
Ms. Parker.
Yes.
Mr. Pavlak. No. Mr. Penhallow.
No.
Mr. Proctor.
No.
Mr. Scudder is absent. Ms. Vanstrom. No. Mr. Wilfong is absent. Chairman Shagnon.
No.
Okay, there are 3 yes votes, 12 no votes and 4 members absent, the motion to amend fails.
Okay, so we are back to the proposed amendment to Resolution 71-24 that was laid on the desks. That would place the income limit to $30,000. Is there any more discussion on the proposed amendment that was laid on the desks? Legislator Larson.
Mr. Chairman, I'll keep this short and sweet. This is one legislator that's not going to go on the record with the homeowners in my district earning between 30,000, senior citizen homeowners in my district earning between 30,000 that this amendment sets and 55,000 that we all voted for just a month ago. I'm not voting to take away that partial exemption from that rather large group of seniors. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments on the proposed amendment? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll on the proposed amendment that was laid on the desks?
Mr. Anthony. Mr. Bankowski is absent. Mr. Buchanan. Mrs. Gustafson. Mr. Harmon. Mr. Heiser. Mr. Johnson is absent. Mr. Landy. Mr. Larson. Mr. Nelson. Mr. Nebel.
Yes.
Ms. Parker. Mr. Pavlak. Mr. Penhollow. Mr. Proctor. Mr. Scudder is absent. Ms. Vanstrom. Mr. Wilfong is absent. Chairman Shagnon.
Yes.
Okay, there are 12 yes votes, 3 no votes, and 4 members absent. The resolution is adopted.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Resolutions 84-24. Acceptance of carts public transportation, section 5311, capital grant.
Are there any comments, any questions on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
85-24. Authorize agreement with New York State DOT for performance of federal aid project PIN 5764.01.
Are there any questions or any comments on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
86-24. Authorize extension of the agreement between the Portland Pomfret Dunkirk Sewer District and the Village of Fredonia for sewage treatment services.
Are there any comments or any questions on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
87-24. Amend Resolution 262-19, confirming user charges, Portland Pomfret Dunkirk Sewer District.
Are there any questions or any comments on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
88-24. Amend 2024 budget to implement the PPDSD I&I project using funding from the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA.
Are there any comments or any questions on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
89-24. Amend 2024 budget for Probation Department, ATI Pretrial Award.
Any comments, questions on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
90-24. Amend 2023 budget for year-end reconciliations, Department of Mental Hygiene and Social Services.
Any questions, any comments, any discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
91-24, authorized lease agreement renewal with Warwick Plaza LLC for Chautauqua County Department of Mental Hygiene Mobile Crisis Team office space.
Any comments or questions on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
92-24, policy guidelines for administering proceeds of original 3% occupancy tax.
Are there any comments or questions on the resolution? Legislator Larson. I'm doing that to you on purpose, you know.
I know. We gotta have some fun, right? Yeah, they all look alike. The occupancy tax is in part personal to me. The state legislature had given Chautauqua County authority to, given the county legislature authority to enact an occupancy tax of 3%, I believe about 10 years before the legislature did it. I was the county attorney sitting up there on the dais when the legislature, in a very divided vote as I recall, passed the occupancy tax, finally, the 3%. Political life is full of ironies. Sitting in this chamber, there were a number of times when a representative of the CCVA, the Chautauqua County Visitors Bureau, CCVB, there were a number of times when the representative of the Visitors Bureau protested vehemently against an occupancy tax that would basically destroy the tourist industry in Chautauqua County. So the political irony is, as many of you know, with a change in the state reauthorization of our occupancy tax, a change was just made a year ago that made CCVB a 50% entitlement of the 3%. This year it raised their anticipated share of money from the county from $550,000 roughly to over $600,000 by an act of the state legislature. You didn't ask for that, right, Mr. Chairman?
No.
No. So, quite an irony that I've lived long enough and been in county government then and now long enough to see the folks that protested the tax now are entitled to half of it to spend as they see fit. In addition, in the 2005 county election, the fact that a new tax was created was a political issue, and the irony there is the next administration added the 2% for waterways. So the 3 didn't go away, it went to 5. But that's just life in government and politics, and we have to smile about it, I think. The legislature, all those 20 years ago and plus, did the right thing. I don't think if any of you made a motion, introduced a resolution to ask the state to abolish our occupancy tax, or I don't think anybody would do that. I don't think the CCV would be here supporting a resolution to eliminate the 3% or the 5 total. So the legislature over the years did the right thing, and it's a tremendous resource. Tonight we will have hundreds of thousands of dollars of waterway money from the 2% reflected in resolutions. It's a wonderful thing. Thank goodness that the 3% was enacted locally. The 2%'s been a great idea. And I can't, if anyone of those of us here tonight, the 15, think we ought to get rid of this occupancy tax, let us know. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Legislator Parker.
I just wanted to add, I'd like to give thanks to the many hotels, motels, Airbnbs, camps that do collect the occupancy tax for us and for the state. So I know it's quite a bit. I've heard from different hotel owners that it does add work for them, and I just wanted to express appreciation for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Well done. Any other comments, questions on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
93-24, amend 2024 budget for New York State Community Development Block Grant Award, Microenterprise Assistant Program.
Any questions or comments on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
94-24, authorize use of Chautauqua County 2% occupancy tax reserve funds for removal of damaged steel dock structures from Dunkirk Harbor.
Questions, comments on the resolution? Legislator Buchanan.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion to refer this back to the committees for further discussion and review. I see there are some miscommunications and some questions that folks had.
Okay. We have a motion to refer this back to committee. Since this is an uncommon practice in my term on the legislature, I would just explain that what the action would result from the approval of this motion is that there would be no further consideration of the resolution tonight, but it would be put on the agenda next month for the Planning and Economic Development Committee and the Audit and Control Committee meetings. So do I have a second to the motion to refer to committee? Legislator Parker. Discussion on the motion to refer to committee. The Legislator Larson.
We discussed it earlier, but given the observation that for many in the room, this would not be the normal thing they've heard, under our rules, the motion to refer has the advantage of it's entirely possible that the Audit and Control Committee and or the Economic Development Committee will not have the answers it needs in April. It may take till May for those committees to get what they need to make a recommendation back to the whole legislature. So referring to committee is a good way for however long it takes to for those committees and the legislators on those committees to be satisfied before coming back to the body. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Legislator Parker.
I was just gonna say, I'm thankful that, the county executive and a number of legislators worked on this to provide the occupancy tax for for partial payment of the removal of damaged steel dock structures from Dunkirk Harbor, as I think this is an important, it was an important thing to do and was done well, and it will be good to get this resolved, and the county's pledge to contribute to that is much appreciated.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Legislator Nebel.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to commend Legislator Buchanan for all the work that he's done on this resolution. There are some unanswered questions. By tabling this resolution, it'll give us a chance to get some of the answers to some of those questions. But he's taken the lead. He's done a lot of work on this, and I'd like to commend him personally.
Thank you for that. I would just clarify that the motion on the floor is to refer to committee, not to table. Okay?
Well, okay. All right.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Legislator Pavlak.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to just add that making the correct decision on this is important. So tonight, I don't feel that myself I could make that decision based on the information that we had. And through our committee discussions this month, we still had some questions that were unanswered. I think we did some homework after committee, and some other conversations were had and discussion. But at this time, I just don't feel that we have the proper information to make a correct decision. And I think by referring this back to committee, it enables us that time. I'm happy to do it tonight. I don't want to. I want to make sure we're doing things properly, and this is one way. last month, I felt we probably should have referred another one. But, so tonight, I'm happy to do so on this one and making the correct decision. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions on the motion? Then, all in favor of the motion to refer back to committee Resolution 94-24, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? It is referred back to committee.
All right. 95-24. Authorize use of Chautauqua County 2% occupancy tax reserve funds for Morse 2% project repairs.
Any questions, comments on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
96-24. Environmental assessment of applications for 2024 2% in-lake occupancy tax grant program funding.
Any comments, any questions on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
97-24. Authorize public hearing regarding 2024 agricultural district inclusions.
Any questions, comments on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
98-24. Cancellation of taxes on donation to land bank.
Are there any questions, any discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
99-24. Transfer American Rescue Plan Act ARPA spending plan budgets from 2023 to 2024.
Any comments or questions on the resolution? Legislator Pavlik.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think I just wanted to comment overall on the American Rescue Plan Act funding. I feel that the county has been very responsible in their management of these funds over the last few years. I think that overall the county's been progressive of finding viable projects within the county and the communities. We have a committee that I want to thank for their work and recommendations, and also the departments within the county for putting up projects for consideration that were needed. A lot of county departments could have come up with double the amount of projects that they brought forth, but they brought forth important ones, and they were considered. And I just wanted to, I guess, just compliment the work that's been done and will continue to be done as projects are being sorted out even today. So.
Thank you. And as Blake understands so well, we are just shy of 80 projects that have been funded with the ARPA funds. Legislator Larson.
As my desk mate points out, an unusual circumstance where either the state or in this case the federal government gave the county roughly $26 million and essentially gave the county authority to make its own priorities, to allocate the funds where it saw fit. We hear so much about mandates. Here was a case of, hey folks, in Mayville, here's $26 million. Do your best to make your community better for it. And so obviously in part the American Rescue Plan was successful in helping the whole country come out of the COVID depression of the economy. And secondly, that we trust that our county and others certainly used the money for worthwhile projects that will benefit our people for years to come. So it's worked out well apparently for Chautauqua County, and for that we should be grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Carried.
100-24, reallocating salary grade for bridge construction supervisor and carpenter.
Any comments, any discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Anthony. Mr. Bankowski is absent. Mr. Buchanan. Mrs. Gustafson. Mr. Harmon. Mr. Heiser. Mr. Johnson is absent. Mr. Landy. Mr. Larson. Mr. Nelson. Mr. Nebel.
Yes.
Ms. Parker. Mr. Pavlak. Mr. Penhallow. Mr. Proctor. Mr. Scudder is absent. Ms. Vanstrom. Mr. Wilfong is absent. Chairman Shagnon.
Yes.
There are 15 yes votes and 4 members absent. The resolution is adopted. (101-24), setting salary for carpenter trainee.
Are there any questions or any comments on the resolution? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Anthony. Mr. Bankowski is absent. Mr. Buchanan. Mrs. Gustafson. Mr. Harmon. Mr. Heiser. Mr. Johnson is absent. Mr. Landy. Mr. Larson. Mr. Nelson. Mr. Nebel.
Yes.
Ms. Parker. Mr. Pavlak. Mr. Penhallow. Mr. Proctor. Mr. Scudder is absent. Ms. Vanstrom. Mr. Wilfong is absent. Chairman Shagnon.
Yes.
There are 15 yes votes and 4 members absent. The resolution is adopted. (102-24), setting salary for senior carpenter.
Are there any comments or questions on the resolution? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Anthony. Mr. Bankowski is absent. Mr. Buchanan. Mrs. Gustafson. Mr. Harmon. Mr. Heiser. Mr. Johnson is absent. Mr. Landy. Mr. Larson. Mr. Nelson. Mr. Nebel.
Yes.
Ms. Parker. Mr. Pavlak. Mr. Penhallow. Mr. Proctor. Mr. Scudder is absent. Ms. Vanstrom. Mr. Wilfong is absent. Chairman Shagnon.
Yes.
There are 15 yes votes and 4 members absent. The resolution is adopted. Motions. Motion A on the agenda, proclaiming April as Donate Life Month in Chautauqua County, has received the required amount of signatures to be brought to the floor.
Is there any discussion on motion A? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Carried.
Motion B on the agenda, support for New York State Office for the Aging and Chautauqua County Office for Aging Services, has received the required amount of signatures to be brought to the floor.
Is there any discussion on motion B? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Carried. Okay, that brings us to announcements on our agenda. Are there any announcements other than having to do with the events on April 8th that any legislator would like to bring to our attention tonight? Legislator Proctor.
Be a little early, but May 4th on Saturday at 9 a.m., the Hometown Heroes dedication will be taking place down here at the cemetery in Mayville. So I'll be reminding you again in April. I just didn't want to forget.
Thank you. Other announcements? Legislator Landy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, we all know about the eclipse, but I'm on the airport commission, and they're putting a big deal going on up there with food trucks and vendors, and 2-day event, day before and the day of the eclipse. So I didn't know if everybody knew about that.
At the Jamestown Airport.
Correct.
Get that plug in. Okay. Okay, any other announcements? I just have one announcement. I would ask that we all keep in our prayers Legislator Johnson and former Legislator Gould, who are both currently in the hospital. Are there any other announcements? That brings us to the second privilege of the floor. Members of the public may comment on any subject. A member of the legislature may speak on any subject. Individual comments are limited to 3 minutes, and comments representing a group shall be limited to 5 minutes. Karen, please.
Township of Chautauqua, I bring you your industrial solar update. We are seeing the people in Texas who have experienced thousands of acres of industrial solar damaged by hail. Those residents are very concerned about their groundwater and their wells and the health threats that come from what leaches from broken solar panels. Which brings me to the governor's budget. The 2025 budget of the governor proposes in Section O on page 128 the Rapid Act, which allows for eminent domain over our western counties. There is a resolution that's being circulated throughout the western counties, and a number of counties have passed it. That includes Cattaraugus, Oneida, Schenectady, and Herkimer. They are opposing the Rapid Act because it, and I will read part of the whereases and the resolve, strongly oppose this county, this town, strongly opposes the passage of Part O contained in the governor's Article 7 revenue bill relating to the expedited siting of major electric transmission facilities and the use of eminent domain and the extinguishing of the conservation easements. This is a threat to home rule. The Rapid Act is bad policy. It is based on bad science. It is not based on the facts. It is not based on the figures and the data and the logic of good energy policies. Or is it based on reality? So we are sharing this, and I will send it to the clerk via email, the resolution. There are many variations of the resolution by the number of towns and counties. But the governor is doing what she often does. She places something in her budget and she enacts it as law without going through the legislative process. We find this is going to be a threat to our quality of life. All of our towns need to have the right of home rule, the right to decide, and the right to question where and when and how renewable projects are placed in our county. So, as one elected official said in Cattaraugus County, quote, "We will be the energy colonies of downstate," unquote, if we don't take a stand and stop the Rapid Act. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the second privilege of the floor?
Yes, good evening. Justin Gould, I'm the county's media information officer. The comment on the eclipse brought it to mind. I just want to give a shout out to our emergency services, our health department, our planning department for their great work on trying to advertise the eclipse. We've been working nonstop over the last, since December, really, to try to push this up. And I want to direct everyone, if you don't already know, I'm sure you get my emails, but our county has a special web page. It's chqgov.com/eclipse. We have a lot of great safety information that our health department has put together, and also information on how you can pick up your free eclipse glasses. So if you don't have some, please make sure you check that out and pick them up. They're at libraries and fire halls and town halls. We have them here in the office. It's, I think, going to be an incredible event for our county. So many people are excited, and I believe we are one of the most prepared counties in New York State to welcome visitors here. So, thank you.
Thank you, Justin, and thank you for your nonstop work. Anyone else to address the second privilege of the floor?
Good evening. My name is Greg Rader. I own about 126 acres of land here in Chautauqua County. I use part of this property for my compost business. I have been dealing with the DEC since 2008 to try to enhance my compost business to include recycling food waste. That's a whole long saga, so I won't go there tonight. Suffice it to say, I know how the DEC operates. If Chautauqua County allows DEC to designate part of Chautauqua Lake as wetlands and assure that the employees from the DEC know what they are talking about, don't believe everything you're told, but be very careful about what you get into. An article in March 12th, 2024, issued by the Post-Journal, Representative Andy Goodell said he had been told by the DEC attorneys that, I quote, major changes won't be forthcoming on Chautauqua Lake, end quote. Further, in this article of the Post-Journal, Senator Borrello echoed, quote, DEC says wetland regulations won't hurt property owners. But in my personal experience, designating a portion of Chautauqua Lake as wetland will indeed have profound and irreversible changes attached. Furthermore, once that designation becomes a reality, there is nothing anybody can do to make it go away or change anything. DEC has absolute power and control, and all Chautauqua County residents should be concerned. And for property owners, trust me when I say it hurts. If you want me to inform or assist in any way, I believe we could prevent this from occurring. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the second privilege of the floor? Seeing no one, I'm looking for a motion. Legislator Gustafson. We have a motion to adjourn and a second by Legislator Proctor. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. And we're adjourned. Thank you.